I kind of knew and hid it because I lived in a small town. And there was Belt. Yeah. And there was no, you know, when this was 1972, so back then there was not the access to come to Great Falls like there is now. So I kind of figured that I was, and one afternoon I skipped school and caught the bus to Great Falls and made up this big long story to my parents that I wouldn't be home till after 5 because I could catch the bus to Great Falls and then come back on the bus and be home by 5:30. So it was I was about 4 months along before I told my parents. When I got the final word, I was sick to my stomach, scared to death because my dad was raised there, and I was embarrassed for him, shamed, and at 55 I still am. But back then, there had been several girls before me, through, you know, the hush-hush of the small town. Their parents had them go stay with relatives in another state, and they had their babies, and then they gave them up for adoption, and then came back as if nothing ever happened. Well, being underage, my parents kind of but pressured the father into marrying me. So to me that was wonderful. You know, that's what I always wanted, was a family of my own. We were trying to do senior stuff, and we went to one of the girls' parents, and home to do stuff, and she wouldn't let me in. She met me at the door and told me that I wasn't welcome. Well, I think the biggest thing is the communication thing with the parents, you know. I wish that I would have been able to go sooner to my parents and talk to them about it. We didn't have that open communication. I raised my kids to have that. You know, you come to me if something's wrong. And when my daughter was old enough, I said, please come to me. You know, if you want to go, get on the pill. You know, it's not that I'm promoting it, but I just didn't want her to go through, and the boys too. I told them the same thing. I didn't want them to go through the heartache that I went through as a child, I guess, because I was a child. I think the communication and the fact that there was nothing there, no place for me to go there. Now they have Planned Parenthood here, but even 20 miles, you know, like I said, I caught the bus. None. No. And he had it. It was funny. He had condoms and stuff, but the boys not so much. I mean, I kind of figured just from the way the girls were acting, their lady friends. But my daughter did.
Did she?
Mm-hmm. And a kind of a roundabout way, but you know, moms kind of know, you know. And when she came to me and said she was sexually active, and I said, well, she didn't want me to get upset, and I said, I'm not upset. I'm glad you came to me. And she had a friend take her to Planned Parenthood and go through all of that. So I was just happy that she told me, you know. And then after the boys saw her take that initial step, then they brought their girls to me and sat down and told me. Yeah.
Sex talk?
Never.
Not once.
We learned it in school.
Did you ever have a desire to ask them, or you just didn't?
Scared to death. And it was something that I could never even think to approach my father with back then, or even now. My mom was raised a Catholic, and it's just something that you never talked about. And to the girls especially, because you're the one that's going through it, the boys walk away. Boys walk away. Or they can walk away.
And no one thinks it'll happen to them.
And I never thought it would happen to me. And there's so many places where you can go. You pick up the phone and call the county health department, and there's somebody here that will help you. Planned Parenthood will help you. There's so many places and there's so many people now. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. You know, my biggest fear was, it affects you at the time, but it affects that child. You know, there's so many children out there that are from split homes, and it's so sad. It's so sad. Don't put yourself through that. Don't put the child through it. If you're not going to think of yourself, think of the
I was
child.
19 when I was pregnant, and I was 20 years old when I had him. Well, he was not planned at all. It was completely a surprise, but at first I was a little nervous. I wasn't prepared at all, but my family and friends really helped be comfortable with being pregnant and wanting to have a kid. Definitely not at first, but as I got more in my last few months of being pregnant, I was totally ready. My mom was supportive from the very beginning. Like, I think probably when I first told her, like, that week, she probably went out and bought clothes and everything. My friends were real supportive too. They didn't like the dad, but they were real excited to have him around. Well, I would definitely tell teens that they need to use protection if they're going to be having sex, but I don't think that they should.
Or you don't think that they
I don't
should
think
what?
that there's really an age that you can put on having sex, but I think that you definitely need to know, like, be prepared of what could happen. I had been on birth control before, but me and his father were together for like 3 years, and after 3 years I didn't think that I could get pregnant if it didn't happen before, so I kind of stopped using birth control and protection. And
How long after you had stopped using like birth control did you find out that you were pregnant?
probably like a year and a half later. I don't really hang out with some of my friends that don't have kids anymore just because they're off doing the party scene and whatnot, and I'm at home with him, so
It was okay considering my boyfriend was only 16 at the time, and she got upset that I was pregnant by a 16-year-old being 19. And so a lot of my friends actually stopped talking to me. They thought it was stupid to be pregnant and that I wasn't ready, but I thought I was ready. I was pretty sure. I didn't know if he was ready or if we were going to make it through everything. I thought I was going to wind up being a single mom, but I was ready for that too. I'm hard-headed, I guess. But my friends, a couple of them stuck around, but not very many. But once he was born, they started realizing that a kid's not going to change me completely. I was scared. I didn't know who I was going to tell. I didn't want to tell my mom and dad, that's for sure. My mom and dad wanted different for me, obviously. I hadn't graduated yet. I dropped out of school at 16, and my parents thought maybe if I got my life on track that a kid would be okay down the line, but not right away. No. For a long time, I thought I couldn't get pregnant because me and my boyfriend never used condoms or anything. I stopped taking birth control when I dropped out of school. I wasn't very active, so I guess it really didn't matter to me. But we got pregnant after 4 months of being together, and it all came as a shock.
Why do you think you couldn't get pregnant?
Because I haven't had any scares or anything, and I've been active since I was 15, so...
So you just thought, it won't happen to me?
Yeah, pretty much. I was pretty sure it wasn't going to happen to me. I was, but I quit because it messed up my menstrual cycle, and after that I didn't have a period for about 10 months, so after I quit taking it, so it really messed me up. And then when I missed my period again, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that's normal for me. So, but I guess it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why girls wouldn't use birth control, because it's not like it makes sex any different. But condoms, I can understand kind of why kids don't use them. I would suggest they start, though. even the natural feeling ones, do something. Protect yourself and others. You don't want to wind up with someone who's not going to stick around. You don't need to sleep around with everybody to have a good reputation in this town. I know a lot of girls out there think that, you know, if I have sex with this guy and that guy, then that group of people will like me. It doesn't work that way. You sleep with this guy and that guy, and you wind up with something that you can't get rid of.
I was trying to get pregnant, but it would be fun to have a baby. It's not all fun. There's a lot more to it than just playing with a doll. So.
And you said you weren't necessarily trying to have a baby. Like, your first child at 15, was it unintended?
Yeah.
Were you using any form of contraception?
Well, the guy that I was dating actually was significantly older than I was, and so he told me he couldn't have kids. So I believed him. I was a vulnerable 15-year-old, and just didn't. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah.
And like, how long did you stay with him after you had your child, or were you still with him?
Not at all. It became a violent relationship after I told him that I was pregnant. Because then I didn't know, but come to find out after I told him I was pregnant, he was actually 19. Not to wait, don't have a kid, finish school, find a career, and then have kids. And if you are sexually active, use protection. Condoms are fabulous, actually. It may not seem like it, but they are.
Why do you say that?
They just protect for so many things. Not only babies, but the STDs that you can get.